Hello and welcome. Today we are diving into one of the biggest questions on everyone's mind, parents, teachers, and especially young people themselves. What is the real story with social media and mental health? It really boils down to this classic chicken or the egg problem, right? We've seen a connection for years, but figuring out which causes which has been, well, incredibly tough. Is social media the thing that triggers these struggles, or is it a place people turn to after they're already struggling? And this isn't just some casual conversation we're having. The U.S. Surgeon General has actually flagged this as a major public health concern. They've put out a call for better research to help us figure this out. I mean, that's how high the stakes really are.
So here's our game plan. First, we'll dig into that chicken or the egg problem. Then we're going to follow the evidence from a really groundbreaking study, uncover its biggest finding, zoom out to see the bigger picture, and finally talk about, what this all means for us.
Okay, so let's jump right in with that central mystery, trying to untangle this seriously complex relationship.
So, for a long time, scientists have known that when you see a lot of social media use, you often see higher rates of depression. They show up together. The issue with a lot of the older studies, though, is that they were basically just snapshots in time. They could show you that two things are connected, but they couldn't tell you if one thing actually led to the other.
But that's all starting to change. And it's thanks to this massive, long-term research project called the Adolescent Brain Cognitive Development Study, or much easier, the ABCD study. This is where we start to get some actual answers. And what makes this study so incredibly powerful is its sheer scale. We're talking about nearly 12,000 young people. That makes it one of the largest long-term studies on adolescent health ever done in the U.S. This is not just a small survey.
And here's the secret sauce. The researchers didn't just check in once. Nope. They followed the exact same kids for 4 years, starting when they were only 9 or 10 years old. This long-term approach is what let them see how things actually changed over time for each person.
So they used this really smart method called a within-person analysis. Basically, instead of comparing a kid who uses a ton of social media to one who doesn't, they looked at each kid individually. They asked a much sharper question. When your personal social media use goes up, what happens to your mental health a year down the road? It's just a much more precise way to hunt for a cause and effect link.
And all of that brings us to the big reveal, the climax of this whole thing. What did this massive study actually find? Well, it points to what really looks like a one-way street.
The researchers noticed a super clear pattern. When a young teen reported spending more time on social media than they usually did, that spike was followed by a rise in their depressive symptoms the next year. The data showed this clear sequence of events. First came the change in social media use, then came the change in their mental health.
And here it is, the punchline. They checked to see if it worked the other way around. Did an increase in depressive symptoms lead a teen to use more social media a year later? The answer was a clear no. The effect only went in one direction. This is a huge finding. It strongly suggests that social media use might be a contributing factor to depression, not just something teens do because they're depressed. It looks like the chicken, in this case, came before the egg.
But wait, that is not the whole story. As important as that finding is, it doesn't mean we should just write off social media as being pure evil. We've got to zoom out a bit and look at the bigger picture.
Because other research is quick to remind us that these platforms are absolutely a double-edged sword. Yeah, they carry some very real risks, but they can also offer some pretty significant benefits, especially for young people who are already dealing with mental health challenges.
So on one side, you have the risks, and they're clear. That constant pressure of social comparison, being exposed to cyberbullying, and for some, it can even make existing symptoms worse. But then on the other side, for a lot of people, social media is a lifeline. It's where they find peer support from others who actually get what they're going through. It can fight off loneliness and be a critical place to find health info and just connect. So with this really complex reality in front of us, clear evidence of a link to depressive symptoms, but also this huge potential for good, what do we do now? How do we get from all this evidence to real-world action?
I think the main takeaway here isn't about whether social media is good or bad. It's that how you use it is everything. The evidence is telling us we need to be proactive, not just reactive. The goal should be to help teens build a mindful, purpose-driven relationship with these platforms. One where they can soak up all the benefits while steering clear of the harm. And the researchers from that big ABCD study, they totally agree. They wrap up by saying that doctors, parents, and teens need to be having these conversations early. They call it anticipatory guidance. It's all about planning ahead and building healthy digital habits before problems even have a chance to start.
And that really leaves us with the ultimate question. Now that we have clearer evidence, the challenge isn't so much figuring out the problem anymore, it's about designing the solution. How do we as a society help the next generation navigate this digital world so that it ends up being healthier, more supportive, and genuinely social? That's the conversation we all need to be having right now.